Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we just pulled the Corvette in, and that is because we just made a trip to the local inspection station and the Corvette has failed. For the first time in my ownership of this car since 2007, it has actually failed due to a check engine light. Now previously I had ran into a problem where I swapped out the battery and the car wasn't into that readiness mode that it needs to be in. Think you need to drive the car 30, 60, 100 miles, something like that, and that'll set all of the trim conditions and whatnot so that it's in that full readiness position for it to go into basically a test mode so that it can pass inspection. So yeah, I drove the car from my house down into Charlotte, and it drove just fine. About a 40-minute drive, and no major issues there. And as soon as I pulled in, I noticed the car was starting to run a little funny, but then all hell broke loose. They plugged into the car and the active handling came on, the service suspension, the ABS light came on, as well as a check engine light. I was like, oh, what the hell? So I had them run through the inspection process. It passed everything except for the check engine light. There's no check engine light now, but that is because I actually cleared it. So if we go over here on the Interforce Aeroceptor, we can go to get DTC, and we got a P0103, if you guys can see that. So that is what the car was showing earlier. I cleared the check engine light, and yeah, we didn't have an issue. So looking up that check engine light, it's basically a MAF sensor failure. Well, that's what's a little weird, guys. This car is tuned for speed density, so I don't know why it'd be throwing a code for MAF sensor when we don't even have that enabled. We're not using MAF at all. So besides anything obviously tied to the electrical system or tied to that P0103 issue, I actually saw a few people say that you could have a bad spark plug wire causing that service active handling, causing that service active suspension and all that stuff in the ABS. So I was looking, I knew about this one right here. If you guys could see that right there, the outer sheathing for the spark plug wire on this first front cylinder on the driver's side, this one right here. If you guys can see that, that is burnt up. I do remember that being there, but I don't remember that being a problem. So, short of shotgunning a bunch of parts of this thing, I am going to replace that spark plug wire because it is burnt up, at least that outer gray layer. I looked at the red wire itself. It looks fine, but we should just probably be cautious on this and just go ahead and replace it. And I think that set, I want to say this set is at least 3 or 4 years old. These spark plug wires don't owe me anything, but yeah. So there's that obvious burn rate there. But anything else, I don't see any other ones that showing severe signs of heat or burning or anything like that. Everything looks like it's plugged in. And the other thing that I wanted to say was, when I cleared that check engine code, I noticed the car immediately started running rougher. So I don't know if it had gone into some weird like limp mode or something like that. The only other thing I wanted to check was the sensor itself. Like I said, I just want to check back, trace these wires back, make sure nothing is pinched or melted, or it's been hit by a coolant line or a supercharger belt. Do want to make sure that's all good. Everything looks fine, but let's I will trace that back, see what this stuff's doing. Also, if you guys can see, the intake sits kind of funny on the Kong throttle body. I do want to adjust that one more time to hopefully get an even gap, because this gap should be straight All right, guys, we just got home from Harbor Freight and we picked up a couple new tools. And that is because I do not have a good voltmeter, and also picked up some, well, that was free because I bought an inside track member a while ago, and I got some feedback probes as well. So yeah, I basically don't have a good voltmeter like I was saying. I had the really cheap one that was free from Harbor Freight like 15 years ago. I've gone through 2 or 3 of those. Finally got sick of those, so I decided to go buy one. And I got a percentage off. I think I saved like $25, but yeah, it's like, I got this stuff, and I also got something else for the truck, which you may have already seen that video or not, but I got some tools for that as well. So as you guys just saw, that shot up to 14.9. So I don't think we've got too much of a battery issue per se. Obviously that should be like 13, but 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, it's actually going back up now that everything's shut off. But I did discover something when I was putting this little probe on here. If you guys can see, this battery cable is not tight at all, and there's a little bit of play here, so I definitely want to get this thing tightened down. I don't know how or when this nut loosened. Oh yeah, I can almost loosen that by hand. Alright, so we have the alternator grounded against the supercharger and the voltmeter running. It's showing in at 12.59, so that's obviously with the car off. That is similar to what we saw in the back. I think in the back we saw like 12.4, so it is a little interesting that the alternator and this front stuff is seeing a little bit higher voltage. Alright guys, so as you can see, the fuse box is hooked up. It's making 15 or just over 15 volts. And here at the alternator, again, it's just at 15 or just over 15 volts. And here at the back with the battery cable tightened, you guys can see we're making it 14.9 volts. So I think we're okay. Our spark plugs finally arrived. It's been a couple days. I think I ordered these on Friday or Saturday. They came on Monday. So it's been, you know, a couple days, and yeah. So yeah, nothing super complicated here, just a set of MSD wires. I really hope they're not shaped like that because we definitely want that straight piece, and I think it's a 45-degree angle. It's something like that, but okay, yeah, that's right. So yeah, just another set of MSDs, and I know some guys may hate on these, but you know, I've had them since 2016, and the only reason I'm replacing them is because I burned one of them. So yeah, I mean, I could just swap one spark plug wire, but honestly guys, since this has been on the car since 2016, we've had 2 different superchargers, 2 different engines, and just a whole lot of different stuff on here. And yes, we're basically just gonna swap all these out. Now I will keep the others as a backup. Actually, I think I have like 2 old sets. I will throw those out and I will keep these as a backup. All right guys, we have just finished putting in the new spark plug, so let's go ahead, fire this thing up and see what it does. Well, so far it seems like it's running okay. It's still running rougher than normal, I think. Yeah, I mean, you know, oil pressure is good. Temperature's cold, obviously this is a cold start. Fuel, battery, that's all good. Oil temperature's coming up, but yeah, hard to say on this one, guys. You know, just looking at it, we got 48, 50 pounds of oil pressure. Fuel's good, air fuel's good. So not the smoking gun that I've been looking for, but I also think it didn't hurt it either, because like I said, those wires are not quite 10 years old. I think they're like 8 years old or something like that. So putting in a fresh set isn't really going to hurt anything. All right, guys, I got one more simple fix that may or may not fix the problem. I don't know. A guy I know on Facebook, his car just tried to burn down because his fuel line was hitting the tensioner for the supercharger. So while I was in here a couple days ago, I noticed that when I was moving my fuel line, one of the port caps I have was pretty cracked. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this, but this one right here, behind the tensioner. Now guys, look how badly cracked that is. I don't know if I cracked that anymore pulling it off the car, but just taking a look at this thing. Yeah, I mean, it's cracked all the way down here. Wow. So yeah, where this thing sits after the throttle body and after the intake, if you have a vacuum leak, yeah, that could definitely cause a problem. Idling, you know, because it is basically what that check engine light was. I already went ahead and picked up these caps from Dorman. So let's go ahead, get that opened up, find one that's sized properly, and put it on there. So if you guys can see the rubber cap on there, the one that's behind the tensioner, that is the new one that we just installed. And yeah, I suppose a vacuum leak could make the car run like crap. All right, let's go ahead and fire the car up. So I don't know if that little rubber cap actually changed anything. It seems to be running, but you know, it still runs pretty rough. And since we have the roof off, it's like way louder than it is normally. So it didn't feel like it was running like 1000% better or anything like that. All right, guys, we're in the car. We do have HV tuners open, and we're basically going to be checking the O2 sensors. I had some concern that they weren't working properly, and I want to go ahead, data log it for a couple minutes, and just see what it's going to end up doing. If you guys go here to the O2 millivolt, it's going from like 300 to 700. You look at the O2 B1 short one and O2, it is jumping up and down. So yeah, that is the blue and teal color right here, it bouncing up and down. So I do believe the O2 sensors are working properly. So for the first like 2 minutes, there was nothing for the O2s. It was, I think it's just in its warm loop, like the O2 sensors have to heat up and then they start working. So there really wasn't any data. Then you guys can see right here, boom, one of the banks starts working, you know, going up and down, because, you know, the O2 sensor is basically reading top, bottom, and you know, it's trying to determine the fuel, how rich, how lean it is. So that's basically the O2 sensor working properly. So that's O2 bank 2 sensor 1. So the teal one at this point is warmed up properly and it's starting to move. But the further you move, you guys can finally see, you know, it started to kick in right here. The blue is going to be O2 bank 1 sensor 1, so that's the front sensor. But the further you go along, it does finally start to flip. So, and the car started running a lot better. And what I mean by that is it started chopping like it has a cam. You know, the first couple of minutes, this thing, it's, you know, those sensors are warming up. It's kind of running probably in closed loop or open loop mode. I'm not really sure what the proper terminology is. But yeah, so it, you know, it seems like it's running like crap. But as soon as the O2 sensor is warmed up, you know, especially right here, you know, we're roughly 4 minutes in on this this log file, and you guys can see that it is moving, you know, both the O2s are moving up and down. All right, guys, I had mentioned that I saw a bunch of weird codes when we were at the inspection station. I actually found them. I was able to pull them up from the history on the ECM. So we pull these up in HP tuners, and I think I'd mentioned earlier in the video that I'd seen something about CAN bus off, CAN bus error, ECM, ABS. Usually when I get the weird like ABS errors, that's usually when there's a bad connection or something going on with the battery. Well, I haven't had that issue since we tightened that battery cable, and everything's been running fine. And I'm not sure if you were able to hear me over the last section, but now that the car is heated up, I've started it, and I've been reading the DTCs, reading the log. It's running like it's chopping like it's supposed to. All right, guys, we got the Corvette behind us, and we're basically gonna end the video here. I think it's running good enough for us to pass the inspection. All the readiness tasks that are in that DTC screen that we showed you a little bit earlier, those are all in that readiness state, so nothing, we don't have to go drive the car extra 50, 100 miles, anything like that. So I think we're gonna be ready to go. I'm actually gonna do the inspection in like 2 more weeks, because we got stuff coming up the next weekend, and then I think I'm finally free the following weekend. So I just want to end this video here because, you know, I don't want to wait another 3 weeks to end this particular video. And if we run into any problems, we'll just let you guys know. But I think everything is running well enough to where, you know, we'll pass like we normally do. It's just kind of weird that we had a loose battery cable, we had, you know, a spark plug wire that was messed up, as well as that cap had gone bad. So hopefully those 3 quick fixes is all that's going to be needed for this thing to run better and hopefully, you know, pass inspection. I'm just finally glad we're getting this thing up and running to where we can go ahead and drive it more often without any problems. So yeah, if you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below, and also make sure you check our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Any support you can give there goes right back into the channel, the projects, the Corvette, and the truck, and all that good stuff. So that's be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.